All right, it is Sunday morning. The Super Bowl is tonight, and I'm doing my big Super Bowl predictions podcast. So, very excited for this. And I thought about starting with Super Bowl, but I think I'm going to start with NBA, hit the Super Bowl, and then wrap up with a little bit of movies. I almost always put the movies talk last. But uh, last episode we did, episode 40, this is episode 41, was my NFL playoff predictions. So that was 4 weeks ago, and usually I would record one around NFC Championship, AFC Championship week, or maybe even a divisional. But being as the playoffs went up to the conference championship, I had predicted everything perfectly except the Cowboys Bucks game. I was like, well, there's really no point in me coming back on the mic and saying, yeah, I still predict Bengals Niners Super Bowl. So there was no point in me recording anything. But then, of course, once that went away, I always do a Super Bowl preview, even if it would have been Bengals Niners like I predicted. I still would have done a Super Bowl preview episode, and so that's what we're doing today, and especially applies because this is the Super Bowl I least expected, to be honest. Which, I guess I probably shouldn't have felt that way, being as on paper these have been the two best teams all year. They're both the number one seeds. They both had the two biggest MVP candidates. They got the best defense in the league on the Eagles side. You got one of the best offensive players in the game in Travis Kelce for the Chiefs. So, I really wasn't that hard to pick here, I guess. But I really felt like the Niners could have had it. Regardless, I felt like it's been a really great playoffs. It's held up with this amazing NFL season we've had. I seriously think it's been a Hood Classic season. It's been super competitive, one of the most competitive NFL seasons I think I've ever seen. I think this Super Bowl is going to reflect that. I think it's going to be a really competitive game tonight. But before we get into the NFL stuff, I do want to talk a little bit about the NBA trade deadline. And I have to address the elephant in the room, which is Sadiq Bey. I made a big tweet. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, I think it's at Sort of Sports Pod with the sort and sports both capitalized, and I think pod capitalized. Not like all capitalized, I'm saying the first letter. Regardless, Sadiq Bey right now is currently a Detroit Piston because of, I think it's Gary Payton's injury is holding them back from doing a 3-team deal that ends up Sadiq Bey in Atlanta and Gary Payton back on the Warriors, which is cool if Gary Payton goes back to the Warriors. Gary Payton the second, obviously, goes back to the Warriors. It's not old Gary Payton walking out there and he's like 60 years old and dribbling the basketball. No, it's not him. Obviously, if Sadiq Bey gets dealt, my tweet applies, and my tweet was basically that the Pistons will no longer win the 2024 title if they don't have Sadiq Bey. So if Sadiq Bey gets traded, that's gone. That's out the window. But if they keep him, then they're still winning it. So that's exciting. But I would be really upset if Sadiq Bey gets traded. Obviously, like everybody on the podcast knows, I'm a big Cavs guy. Cavs my favorite team. And then Bucks mostly because of Giannis. Giannis being my favorite athlete, period. And then the Pistons are kind of like, I guess, my second favorite team, I'd say. But a big reason that is because I love Sadiq Bey. And I do love Jaden Ivey. And I like Jalen Duren. And Cade's all right, too. Cade's pretty cool. And I like Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart. I like a lot of guys in the Pistons, but Sadiq's easily my favorite. I own a Sadiq Bey jersey. He's my guy. Probably my second favorite player in the league, honestly. I love him. And so if he goes somewhere else, I'll obviously still be a fan of him, but it's going to be really upsetting to see him leave Detroit if that's the case. So I kind of hope he doesn't get dealt. I really don't want him to be dealt. But then I'm a little worried they're just going to move him again in the offseason. So that would be really upsetting for me. Regardless of what happens, I'm going to be upset if Sadiq Bey is not wearing a Pistons uniform next season because that's my guy. So, all right, let's get into the big things. And it's a wait and see there on Sadiq. I'm sure I'll tweet about it. Let's get into the big news, which is Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. So, 2 years ago at the trade deadline, the Brooklyn Nets acquired James Harden. I remember somebody telling me, well, that's it. They're going to the finals, wrap up. And I was like, whoa. Bucks still got this. Bucks did still have that, won that finals, baby. Let's go. One of the most exciting podcasts I ever got to record, the episode, I forget what number it is, but it says yes, and it's just Giannis holding up the title. I think it's episode 14, maybe. If I can remember that off dome, that's really impressive. I got to check this. This is actually wild if I actually remembered that. Let's go to playlists, Sort of Sports Podcast, complete series. Yes, it's episode 14. There we go. So, yeah, episode 14, the Yes Podcast. I'm hoping, I feel like this year, NBA Finals, real quick. Quick sidebar before we talk about Kyrie Irving. Quick sidebar. So a friend of mine and I were talking about the NBA conferences right now, and I just feel like 100% that the best teams are in the East because I feel like the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Sixers are your three best teams in the East, and then probably after them, I'd say is now the Suns, probably the fourth best team, and then fifth best team. I would honestly, sorry, not the Suns. I don't want to say Suns. Sorry, Nuggets probably the fourth best team. Fifth best team is the Suns, and then I'd say sixth best team is the Cavs. So I would like to argue that the Cavs are better than the Suns, but I probably shouldn't do that at the moment. We have to wait and see. But regardless, the NBA champions come out of the East. I don't believe in any of these West teams. Honestly, I think there's a real good shot this is the year the Nuggets make the finals and then lose to the Bucks, which would be amazing for me because I think I made it very clear on this podcast that I went from being a Jokic hater to a Jokic lover. I mean, I love Nikola Jokic. I think he's one of the best players in the league. You know, best player in the league is Giannis, obviously, the number one best player. But Jokic has got to be in your top five and probably, honestly, top three. I mean, it's like Giannis has to be your one. Luka, I think, at this point is probably two, right? And then is it Jokic three? Is that your top three best players? I mean, Curry would be when he's injured right now. It's a little hard to put him in there. So, you know. Wait, is Steph injured? Or am I bugging? Let me check this. I feel really dumb. Yeah. Okay, he is injured. I was like, maybe I'm not paying attention. No, yeah, he's injured. So yeah, I'm saying Luka's got to be your second best player, and then third, I think he's Jokic. Honestly, I think Jokic is better than Embiid. I'll say it till the cows come home. Jokic is better than Embiid, and I used to be a guy that said Embiid is better than Jokic. So I've seen both sides of this equation, and I've definitively decided Jokic is better. And so back to what I was saying about the Kyrie Irving thing, sidebar, but I'm saying, yeah, finals right now, Nuggets-Bucks is kind of what I'm seeing, and that would be excellent. And the Bucks win that in like 5 or 6. Sorry, Jokic. I just don't. Giannis tears that team up. That's not a good matchup for the Nuggets. The Nuggets match up pretty well against a lot of West teams. I think a Nuggets-Celtics series would be excellent. Nuggets-Sixers obviously would be excellent. But the Bucks just completely out. Like, they're so much more physical than the Nuggets, and a lot of that's Giannis, because no one on the Nuggets matches up against Giannis well. Because Jokic is the guy you'd want to be that, but Jokic is not. There's hardly anybody in the league. There's really no one in the league that can lock down Giannis. But your guys who can try to slow him down are like Bam Adebayo, where you're tall, you're long, but yet you're athletic enough you can move around. That's why Kawhi can do a pretty good job against Giannis. Jokic is not quick enough to guard Giannis. So he's too slow. So we putting Aaron Gordon on him, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. So it'll still be fun, though. I think this NBA season is a hood classic already. I feel like it's just been excellent, and I think the playoffs are going to reflect that. We've had 3 straight amazing seasons, and I would almost say 4. If we had the full season of 2020, it was also a great year. So the NBA, really ever since that huge 2020 offseason where everything got switched around, not 2020, 2019 offseason where everything got switched around, going into 2020, where it's like AD moved and Kawhi left and KD moved, like everything moved. We've just been having banger after banger year. And I think 2021 is the first real year you can count. 2022 is also great. And I think 2023 is also going to be amazing. So I don't see a super team forming anytime soon. So I think we're just going to continue to have banger seasons until somebody really screws everything up. And that's really exciting. All right, so Kyrie Irving. Right. Going to the Mavericks. I did retweet Dom2K's tweet, my boy, I love Dom2K, about how this is kind of like the DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis thing, where it's like, we're not going to win a chip with this. We needed to get him something. I kind of feel that way, but I do think this is a pretty decent duo. The argument of, oh, well, there's only one basketball. Yeah, we've done that a million times, and it never really applies. Usually the team is still very competitive. Really the only example of that where that was kind of fell on its face was the 2020 Rockets with Russell Westbrook and James Harden. But I blame that more on the fact that they ran a lineup of everybody being 6'7" and under than just the Russ Harden dynamic. Granted, the Russ Harden dynamic wasn't the best, but I'm saying I would blame that more on the fact that Mike D'Antoni was committed to micro ball, not just small ball, but like micro ball is what they dubbed it during the bubble, I remember. So, I would blame that more on that than the two of them. So, regardless of that fact, and then Russ plays for the Wizards next year. That's a weird thing to think about. The Russ KD, it's so odd. Like, when we look back on NBA history, right? 10 years from now. And we look back on that Thunder team. It's like, yeah, look, if they all would have stayed together, they'd have been so good. And then we'll show that when they separate, it's like KD won 2 rings that really don't matter. Russ floundered around. But, like, Russ had his big MVP year, like, and that was really impressive. And there was a bit where it was like the Russ hype was crazy, and then he just started floundering around. And then it was like Harden bounced around to competitive team, but never could get to the final. Like, it's so weird, that trio. Because I forget that KD's a 2-time champion. It doesn't feel like he is. And I honestly think his legacy now with this Suns trade, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I just got to say this now. I think it's completely effed up. Like, there's no scenario in which KD ends up going up like the greatest players of all time, even though he definitely has a talent to do it. But it's just legacy, right? And his legacy looks piss poor. Like, piss poor. It is not impressive at all. And I think with the way Curry's career's gone, especially with that big finals last year, I think the narrative's going to be written that Curry he was in Curry's shadow, which isn't the truth. We know that living in the moment. But I think the narrative's going to be written that, Curry was the freaking man, and it was him against LeBron for the 2010s for the best player in the league, and KD was third. And I think that's the way the narrative will be written, even though it's not true. I mean, KD was the second best player for some of that time, but there was times where Curry was the best player in the league. In 2016, before the playoffs, he was kind of the best player in the league, and that was an incredible MVP season. So, even though it was supposed to be the KD-LeBron decade, it kind of ends up looking like a Steph-LeBron decade. And I think the 2022 finals, even though it's in the next decade, reinforces that fact. So I think KD's legacy is completely effed up. So back to the Kyrie trade. I think this is really exciting for me as a guy who's a big Luka guy. I think everybody knows I love Luka Doncic. If he wasn't so uber popular, I'd probably like him even more. I get a little I do have a tendency of like, oh, I really like this guy, and then he becomes super popular and everybody realizes they like him, and then I'm like, oh, this is less exciting now. It's kind of what I did with Ja Morant. All right, I really like Ja, and then now everybody likes Ja, but now everybody doesn't like Ja and the Grizzlies. So, me included, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of sick of their stuff. They always try to act like they're big tough guys, and I don't know. They are the exact same scenario as the Phoenix Suns. The Grizzlies are, where they were super popular, everybody liked them, except I never liked the 2021 Suns. They always pissed me off. I was like, they're not that good. Everybody's flipping out. Well, okay, they were really good. I should take that back. They just annoyed me. I was like, these guys are not going to beat the Bucks. And everybody's like, oh, they're going to win the finals. And then they lost to the Bucks. And I was like, yeah, who called that? But then I think the Grizzlies are the same thing, where it's like they were super popular. They were like everybody's favorite to look on League Pass, and they were like, Ja was, people wanted him for MVP. People were picking him for MVP this year. Now everybody's like, yeah, no, I don't. This team's kind of annoying. And I agree. I'm starting to get a little annoyed with the Grizzlies. They're not really the fun team anymore. Okay, so I keep getting bouncing around. I have a lot to say because I haven't recorded one of these in a while because I've been waiting for the Super Bowl preview. So once we're out of this, I'll have less than a million things to cover. All right, so I have a lot of thoughts to get out of my system. So back to the Mavericks Kyrie trade. I don't know how many of you know this, but I used to be a huge Kyrie Irving guy. There was a time he was my favorite player in the league when he was on the Cavs. I loved Kyrie. And talking about another guy whose legacy is really screwed up. He just bounces around. So Kyrie, Jokic will have a great legacy for what it's worth, even if he never wins the finals, because he's going to be with the Nuggets forever. That's impressive. So the Kyrie-Luka thing, I honestly think they have a really good chance to be in the Western Conference Finals with this duo. I think they're very talented. They've got decent depth. I think Dinwiddie's a big loss. I'm not going to lie to you. I think Dinwiddie was a nice piece for the Mavericks. But, they obviously got to move him to get Kyrie. And I think this duo could go to the Western Conference Finals. I don't think it goes farther than that. I think you run into the Nuggets, and the Nuggets are a much better built team than them, and they will beat them. But you've got two of the most talented guards in the league. I think you easily are the best backcourt in the league. It's the best guard combo in the league. And, Luka is having an MVP caliber year, and that's really exciting. So I honestly do believe that this team can go far, but I don't think it's a finals team. I'm not sure how long Kyrie stays here. I think that's what's interesting. Was this a move, a long-term? I don't think this was a long-term move to compete for championships with Luka. I think this was okay, Kyrie's available, and we need to keep Luka happy. Let's go get him. If this is a long-term move, I'm really interested to see what their offseason looks like. Because if this was a long-term move, then they're going to make a move to get, somebody talented down low. I'm not sure exactly who that is, but they're going to try to build like a trio here for Luka. And I'm not sure what they're going to do. if this wasn't a long-term move, I don't know what their offseason looks like. But, we'll see. I think it's interesting because I'm definitely trying to keep Luka happy. I don't know. We don't know yet what type of player Luka is. Is he the type of guy that's going to stick with the Mavericks no matter what? Or is he going to be like, no, I'm freaking going to the Clippers? I don't think Luka would go to the Clippers. It'd be a really odd duo. I would love to see Luka with the Nuggets, but I don't think the Nuggets are exactly a sexy destination. You don't think Jokic is big sexy? I do. I think Jokic is very sexy. I love Nikola Jokic. Big sexy. Okay, we're going over to the KD trade after that. So the KD trade, this was huge. So there's been chatter about him going to the Suns since last offseason, just because you could see the Suns making that move. And, they got a new, ownership in there now coming in. And boom, make a big splash move, send off Mikal Bridges to the Nets. For what it's worth, the Nets are having like one of the weirdest seasons I've ever seen in my life from any pro sports team, where you're the 5th seed, and they might be the 6th seed after last night, in the East, and yet you just traded off your 2 best players, and no one believes you're going to be, there was a time people were talking about you being a contender, and now you'll be lucky to make the playoffs. It's just wild. I do like their young core. I mean, I like Mikal Bridges, and Cam Thomas is now Michael Jordan, so that's really exciting. So this Cam Thomas thing is really interesting to me. If he can stay this good, like, did we just randomly find an all-star player out of this guy who got drafted 2 years ago from LSU? Like, so random, but maybe that's the case. Maybe Cam Thomas is now just going to be one of the best players in the league, and he just came out of nowhere to be an incredible scorer. I mean, that's potentially what's going on. So maybe this Nets thing will work out, and we'll just be like, oh, Cam Thomas. And we're watching a 30 for 30 in 10 years about how Cam Thomas ended up becoming the best player in the league and wins 3 MVPs and 3 rings with the Nets and is like the greatest net of all time. I don't think it's what's going to happen, but that would be pretty freaking cool if it did. Like, just some Cam Thomas, like kind of a random NBA player just becoming like a legend. That'd be freaking sweet. I don't think it's what's going to go on. I'd bet on Cam Thomas going back to normalcy than staying one of the best scorers in the league, but maybe he's just blossomed and this is Cam Thomas. Who knows? But yeah, Cam Thomas is really interesting for me for the Nets. And I think the Nets, that's what you get bank on, is you're like, maybe Cam Thomas is the man, and you just try to build around that. And if he's not, well then now you go into full, we have a decent core. We just need to find that scorer. And to be honest, a team that's competed very well with having a decent core without having an incredible player is the Raptors. I mean, the Raptors are just a team full of talented, really talented guys that could be the 2nd or 3rd best player on championship teams, and they're just full of that. It's like Scotty Barnes, really good player. Not exactly the best player on a championship team, but you would love to have him, right? Fred VanVleet, same way. They have a lot of guys like that, and Pascal Siakam, same way. Like, they're just really talented guys that you'd love to have on your team. And they're just filled with that. And they don't have like a one go-to guy, but yet they compete very well every year. I mean, the Raptors this year are having a weaker season at 26-31, the 11th seed. But, overall, they've usually had success with that. Nick Nurse has had a lot of success there with that system. I mean, if Kyrie Irving would have ended up in the Raptors, I would have been like, dang, that's a sweet team. But it's not the case. So, and yeah, the Nets are still a 5 seed, I checked. The Cavs are the 4 seed now, baby. Let's go. We're moving towards that Cavs-Bucks Eastern Conference Finals. Let's go. Because I think everybody knows I'm not big on the Celtics. I just don't think. They play the Bucks in a series, it's over. Like, the Bucks are killing them. The Cavs have Mobley, so that can be the Giannis slow-down guy. I still think the Cavs will lose the Bucks, but I think the Bucks are winning the finals. I have no doubts in my mind. That's what's going to happen. So. Yeah, I'm not a big, I don't know what it is. I'm just not a big Jason. Ever since I watched Jason Tatum have one of the worst performances I've seen by the best player in a championship team in the finals last year, I don't think unless he does something freaking crazy in the finals, like until he makes the finals and wins it definitively, like he plays amazing, I will not believe in him again in like a final scenario. It was so bad. He was so disappointing. And I picked them to beat the Warriors. The Warriors made him look silly. I mean, yes, it went 6 games. The Warriors made him look silly. It was never, a question really after game 2 who was going to win the series. The Warriors had that. So, yeah. That was a quick sidebar there. So the KD, I don't know if it was a quick sidebar. That was a sidebar. It wasn't quick. The KD Suns thing. Right now the Suns are sitting at the 5 seed at 31-27. Same record as the Mavericks. I mean, this would be amazing if we could get a playoff series between Mavs Suns. It'd probably be a semifinal. That'd be freaking sweet. I don't think it's going to go first round. I think one of them will overtake the other in the standings. But, I'd love to see that in the playoffs because I do think the Nuggets will be in the Western Conference Finals. I have good faith in that. So, KD the Suns, I think, is a great fit. I honestly think this is really exciting. I think they legit are a championship contender team. I think if you said who are the real contenders, I think you have to put the Celtics in there, even though I don't like them. I don't think they're very good, but, they're 40-16. I mean, they look good. So, the real contenders, in my opinion, are the Celtics, the Bucks, the Suns, the Nuggets, and I guess I have to say Sixers, but I really wouldn't want to. And then your fringe guys, like your teams that maybe you could see them being in the finals, I think that's where I'd put the Sixers. That's where I'd put the Cavs. That's where I'd put the Grizzlies and the Mavericks. And maybe the Clippers. Maybe I toss Clippers in there. But I don't really think the Kings are going to the finals. I mean, they're having an amazing season, 32-24, the best Kings season I've seen in my entire life. And good for the Kings. And then, of course, the Jazz have fallen off. It was fun while it lasted, 28-30. But Kings have overtaken that spot of being the team that you're like, what? They're there? They took that Jazz spot. The Kings are playing great basketball. I mean, the Kings have a better record. I mean, the Kings have a better record than the New York Knicks. I guess it's not really that impressive. The Knicks aren't always very good. I'd love to see the Knicks make the playoffs. I like Brunson, and I like Hart being added in there. It's a fun team. So, yeah, the Kings. That's wild. The Kings are the 3 seed. Yeah, I feel like the East is finally the better conference at the moment. Oh, finally. I mean, last couple of years it's been back and forth, but I'm saying this year I think they're very much a better conference. But in the West, the whole KD thing, I definitely think the Suns have a great odds to be in the finals now. I think KD in the playoffs has shown that he can step up. I mean, the Nets in 2021, he had a really good series. He had a very good playoff run, and then they lost to the Bucks in the semifinal off the the foot over the line thing. So, I think the Suns team is going to be really fun to watch. And when I do most watchables, next episode I'll do a most watchables. Wasn't planning on doing one this episode. But next episode I'll do an NBA most watchables. They're definitely going to be up there high. And Kevin Durant, I think, fits in really well there. I honestly just think it's a great fit. I think the Luka Kyrie thing will work out, but it's not exactly the perfect fit for Luka. This is a perfect fit for the Suns. I think him, Chris Paul, Devin Booker will all play off each other very well. DeAndre Ayton, I think his best year was honestly the year they went to the finals. But, he's still a very talented player. Just doesn't impress me as much as he did then. I mean, there were people acting like he was, going to be one of the best centers in the league there. And I'm like, no. That's Jared Allen's job. So, But I am serious. Jared Allen's amazing. So, regardless of all that, it's an exciting move. I think the Suns are going to be a fun team to watch. I think the Mavericks, I think both of them, there is a chance that it's Western Conference Finals. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a chance the Mavericks go up against the Nuggets and the Mavericks, offense overpowers them and, they go on to the Western Conference Finals. Could be a semifinal series. And I think there's a really good chance the Suns are in the Western Conference Finals. I could really see that. I think Monty Williams is a good coach. I'm not a huge Chris Paul guy, but maybe, I definitely think the fit is there. I think it's a great fit with KD there. And I think that starting lineup of, Paul, Booker, KD, TJ Warren, and DeAndre Ayton, it's a real good starting lineup. So I think this is really exciting for the NBA. And I do think, I think it's exciting. I definitely think KD's legacy is completely screwed, though. Quick thing I wrote down, SGA versus Ja. I saw a tweet somewhere, and it was like, everybody hyped up. The NBA really hyped up Ja Morant just for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to be the player we thought he was. And I don't know if that's exactly true, but I think it kind of is. I think SGA is absolutely incredible. And I've been big on him for a couple years now, and this season has only confirmed that. And he's amazing. I would really like to see the Thunder stop trying to be bad. I mean, they're not trying as much now. I mean, they're the 10 seed. They have the potential to be in the play-in. But, next year, I would like for them to just be in the playoffs legit, not even be a play-in team. I would like for them to go full competitive mode once Chet's back because SGA is here right now, and he's ready to freaking compete. And I don't want them to waste years off his career when he's ready to go. I mean, every team in the league would love to have him. He's amazing. He's, I think there's going to be a talk by the end of the year or some point next year where we consider him one of the best guards in the league. And honestly, I feel that way now. I think he's incredible. I think offensively, he impresses me. I think his defense improves every game. I really like SGA. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an incredible player, and I think the Thunder need to take full advantage of that and have him lead their team because he's amazing. So that's my Shai piece. I think there's a chance he's better than Ja. I don't know if he is right now, but I think there's a real chance. All right, let's look at awards real quick. NBA MVP, I think right now Tatum is one of the front runners, Luka is one of the front runners, and then Jokic. I'd love to say Giannis. I think Giannis does have a legit chance. I think some of the voter fatigue is off him because, we've had Jokic back-to-back years. But I still think it's tough for Giannis to win. I mean, I thought there was a real good shot he was going to get DPOI last year. And then, of course, he did not. Let me look at the NBA key MVP. Let's see what they got going on. Okay. Number 1 is Jokic. Yep. They have Jokic 1, Giannis 2, Tatum 3, Embiid 4, Luka 5. All right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Shai Gilgeous, they have it 10. There it is. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I think Jokic, Giannis, Luka, and Tatum are like the 4 I could definitely see. I don't think Embiid's going to get it. I think there's a higher chance of Jokic getting it. Even though there's some voter fatigue on Jokic, his numbers are always off the charts. And the Nuggets are going to be the 1 seed most likely. So that's really impressive because they've never been the 1 seed when he's won his MVP. So I think there's a really good shot for Jokic. But I also think Giannis is having some insane stat lines. I mean, there was one thing, something he did the other day. They're like, no one's done this since Wilt Chamberlain. I think it's his averages. I think no one's averaged like something. I forget exactly what it was. I think I retweeted it. But it was something StatMuse put out about how no one's done this since Wilt. And I'm like, gosh, he's so freaking good. So I'd love to see Giannis win it again. I think, saying Jokic and Giannis are the best 2 right now is like saying that, the best-selling ice cream flavors are vanilla and chocolate. I mean, it makes sense. It's always there. So, Jokic and Giannis are always in the MVP talks. I think there's a really good shot for Luka, especially if the Mavericks would pop up a couple seeds. I don't think the Kyrie trade really hurts him. I don't think that really hurts his MVP odds. So I guess we have to talk about. Didn't even think about it. Didn't even have it written down. Can't believe I don't want to. Can't believe I didn't even think about it. LeBron James is now the NBA career points leader, and I don't think that's going to be beaten for like 40 to 50 years. I honestly don't think. You would have to be, what you would have to do to break that is insane. I mean, maybe Victor Wembanyama's got it in him, boys, but I mean, you have to be an insane scorer from the jump. And then you also have to have longevity, and you really can't get hurt. Like there's a lot of layers to being the career leading scorer, and I think it's incredible LeBron did that. And I will say that is an award that no one can really take away from him. Like that is purely his, and that is, I think, definitively going to be the greatest argument for him being the GOAT. I think that's going to go above the 3-1, 3-1, 3-1 comeback. I think that honestly is more important than any of his championships. Which is weird because I always say the most important things is championships. In my opinion, it is. But the scoring title is an incredible feat because it's longevity and it's consistency. I mean, that's just greatness all personified. So that's really impressive from him. I mean, I still think MJ's the best player ever. But I think that kind of makes him 2. I think LeBron, there's an argument for me that you can put like Kobe above him. But I think 4 rings, one of them really doesn't matter that much. But maybe I'm a douche for saying the bubble one doesn't matter that much, but that's just kind of how I feel. But, 4 rings, one's kind of meaningless, but the scoring title, that's freaking huge. 4 MVPs, scoring title, I don't think there's realistically a scenario where we can definitively say LeBron's the GOAT, barring something unforeseen. I think his career is kind of written, to be honest. I think this is like his last big accomplishment. I don't really see him getting a big definitive title anytime soon. The Lakers probably aren't even going to make the playoffs this year. Maybe they luck into Victor Wembanyama, and him and Victor just cook immediately, and they go to the finals next year. But I don't think there's a scenario where LeBron has some, like kind of like what Curry had last year with the finals, where it's like no, I'm this good finals win. I don't see that coming for LeBron anytime soon. So I think MJ's going to have 6, and LeBron's going to retire with 4. And it's like MJ's are all uber impressive, and MJ has all these moments, and I don't think there's a scenario where I look at LeBron as greater than MJ. Sorry, homies. All right, Super Bowl time. Well, actually, no. Let's talk about the NFL honors first because I got them all right but one, and that was really exciting for me. MVP was Patrick Mahomes, as I predicted. Would have loved to see Hurts got it, but I just felt like it was going to be Mahomes' year. And, I am a big Mahomes guy. Used to be a super big Mahomes guy, and anymore it kind of pisses me off a little bit because I think I've gotten a little annoyed with the fact that they beat up on the Bengals. And I think it's a definitive that I do like Burrow better than Mahomes. I think Mahomes at this point is my fourth favorite quarterback, which is wild because he used to be number one, like easy peasy. So it's weird how things have shifted for me. Coach of the year, I did predict Dayball. It was Dayball. That was exciting. Comeback player of the year, I'm so glad they gave it to Geno Smith. That's what I predicted. He deserved it. Great year for Geno. Offensive player of the year, wasn't too hard of a pick to take Justin Jefferson, and it was Justin Jefferson. DPOI, had to be Nick Bosa. I mean, there was a part of the podcast I was just like, whoa. And yeah, for his sacks, that was incredible stats from him. So Nick Bosa won it, obviously. Defensive rookie of the year, also got right. That was Sauce Gardner. My boy. Love Sauce Gardner. And probably my favorite defensive player not named Brian Burns. So, yeah. And then I obviously didn't predict the Walter Payton Man of the Year. That would have been a really weird one for me to predict. That was Dak Prescott. Moment of the year, I didn't predict this, but it would make sense. I probably would have picked the catch versus the Bills, Justin Jefferson's incredible one-handed snag. The only one I got wrong, though, was the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I took Kenneth Walker III. Should have went with Garrett Wilson. It's pretty obvious it was going to be him. Went with Kenneth Walker III just because I thought he was, really impressive as a running back to come in and do that. But they give it to Garrett Wilson. Definitely deserved it. The Jets having the Offensive Rookie of the Year and the Defensive Rookie of the Year is a really good look for the Jets, especially off the fact that I remember when the draft came around, everybody was talking about how great of a draft the Jets had. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. I was wrong. They had an amazing draft. So, there you go. All right. I took that really fast. Sometimes my mother, when she listens to these podcasts, is like, you start talking really fast and I can't understand what you're saying. You need to calm down. So, if you're my mother and you're listening to this and you thought that was too fast, I apologize. You can always slow down the video on YouTube settings, though. That sounds really douchey. I didn't mean for it to. I'm just saying. I know I probably did talk a little fast there. All right, Super Bowl 57. I do think this is going to be a really competitive game. I think it's going to be really exciting. I think both these teams match up against each other well. And, if you would ask me 2 years ago who I'm rooting for, there's no question in my mind I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I used to be, I still am a big Mahomes guy. I think Mahomes is definitively the best player in the league. I think he's going to be the best quarterback in the league for the foreseeable future. I don't think there's really a scenario where he's not. I think Herbert has a chance to be up there as like the 2. I think Burrow right now is the 2. But I don't think there's a scenario where he gets taken off. It's kind of like Brady, where like Brady's the best player in the league, but Manning's still having amazing years. But Manning's definitively the 2. So, I think Mahomes is that guy. I think Reed is one of the best coaches in the league. And I think if they win another one, I think there's a very good chance Reed retires and Bieniemy gets promoted to head coach. And that would be really interesting. But I think that's what's really interesting about going into this game is legacy, right, for Mahomes. You've been to 3 Super Bowls in 4 years and you won 2 of them. And when you did lose, it was against the greatest player of all time. So that's a really good look for Mahomes. It would just build upon this legacy in Mahomes. Then we start talking about, okay, well, how many is he going to get? Is he going to get 3? Is he going to get 4? Is he going to get 5, right? If he wins tonight, I mean, we get a good look at, what his career can look like. I mean, without Tyreek Hill, they've been able to still have an amazing offense. I mean, I predicted them to be a 7 seed. I slept on this team a little bit. I should have never doubted Mahomes. I mean, I always say I'm a big Mahomes backer, and here I am kind of doubting him. I don't, because on the other end of the field, the Eagles just look freaking lights out. Like when they played the Giants, I mean, I don't want to say the Giants are I don't think the Giants like the best team in the league or anything, but the Eagles looked lights out offensively and defensively. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are freaking unstoppable. Jalen Hurts has been playing some really good football. I mean, he's been playing top-tier football. So I got to hand it to him. He's been a great quarterback for them. And I think, if he wins tonight, we start talking about, okay, well, where do we rank Jalen Hurts in the best quarterbacks? Because he's got to be in there because he's more than a system QB. He's making great plays out there. So probably immediately go down as the best Bama quarterback in the NFL, period, right now. I mean, Tua is the true Alabama quarterback because Jalen Hurts had a year with Lincoln Riley, which is like, being blessed with the holy hand of God as a quarterback. I mean, Lincoln Riley pumps out some good quarterbacks. But granted, Baker Mayfield didn't have a lot of success, and Kyler Murray I don't think is that great either. So I guess I shouldn't say that. Lincoln Riley has some great quarterbacks, but they don't really pan out the way you expect. But Jalen Hurts would be the first one. So Bama and Oklahoma faithful got to root for the Eagles, I guess. I don't think Oklahoma people are going to root for the Eagles. I feel like most Oklahoma people are probably Chiefs fans. So who knows? Who knows? But and then obviously defensively, Hassan Riddick, he used to play for my Panthers. He's been a dog. And O-line wise, the Eagles got one of the best O-lines in the league, probably right behind the Niners. And, Jason Kelce, the best probably offensive lineman in the league, is on the team. And I love Jason Kelce. I love the New Heights podcast, him and Travis. It's really exciting that they're going up against each other. Both sides, I think it's going to be a really exciting game. I think it's going to be close up till the very end. And two great offenses, and both have big, pass rush games, and that's really exciting. So I guess the big question is, who am I going to pick to win? Well, first off, I got to say, Rihanna as the halftime show is going to be freaking sweet. I cannot wait for that. I love Rihanna. Genuinely one of my favorite artists. She's excellent. I cannot wait. She's got so many banger songs. I don't even know what she's going to play. She's definitely not going to do the song Sex With Me, which is disappointing because I love that song. But, she'll probably do Rude Boy maybe. Like, the call me rude boy, boy, you can get it up. Yeah. Like that one. That one's good. Maybe All the Lights, right? But that one's with Kanye. And I don't think Kanye right now is the best look for many reasons. So, maybe she won't do that one. Wait. Yeah, All the Lights with Kanye, right? And is it Jay-Z or is it Kanye and Jay-Z? Ah, crap. I'm going to look this up. I think Kanye's in it. Yeah, Kanye's in it. I remember. I don't even look it up. I'm going to look it up, just check. Yeah. Kanye, it's by Kanye. It's Kid Cudi with it. It's not Jay-Z. Yeah, she's definitely probably not going to play that then. But hey, this is like my halftime show. Like, I'm so excited for this. This is what I've wanted to see for a while. I know they talked about doing Taylor Swift, and I'm very happy they went with Rihanna instead of Taylor Swift. My girlfriend loves Taylor Swift. She'd have been very excited. I vastly prefer Rihanna, so this is very good. This is very good for me. I'm very happy with this. So, yeah, I don't know a ton of new Taylor Swift songs, so I don't really know what she'd play. I'm assuming Taylor Swift wouldn't have done like country girl Taylor Swift. I'm assuming she would have done more modern stuff, and I only know a couple of those songs. So, when G listens to this, she'll probably be like, "Oh my gosh, she should have played this song." Well, all right, no, I don't really know. So, as a Rihanna guy, very freaking excited, and hopefully she releases a new album soon. Please, I love Rihanna. So, all right, my pick. I'm taking the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. I think Super Bowl 57 is going back to Philadelphia. I know I did it really suddenly. Sorry about that. I didn't. It was like instead of hyping it up, I just went boom, like a quick, exciting way to say it. But yeah, I think the Eagles are going to win it. I just think on both sides of the ball, they're stronger. I think offensively they look lights out. Defensively, I don't think they're going to slow down Mahomes that much, but I think the offense can keep up with them, and I think the defense is slightly better. And I don't think it's very hard to have an offense that can keep up with Patrick Mahomes, but I think the Eagles got it. The receiving core is so impressive. Like, they've got such a good receiving core. And it's better than the Chiefs receiving core. Kelsey's the best receiver here, but then it's like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and then probably Dallas Goedert. So those are the top four, and three of those guys are Eagles. The only one who's the best one is the Chiefs, but after that, the next three are Eagles. And then defensively, I mean, Chris Jones, obviously huge for the Chiefs, but Hassan Riddick is such a dog for the Eagles. And on top of that, you got Darius Slay as a corner. I don't think the Chiefs have a lights-out corner like Darius Slay. And quarterback-wise, Mahomes is better than Hurts, but I think Hurts could really show that he is that top-tier quarterback. Like, he is up there with your Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, top three. Like, he's 4. He could show tonight he's 4. So, I think that's what's going to happen. I think the Eagles are going to win it. I think the Super Bowl is going back to Philadelphia, and I will be rooting for the Eagles. I don't know what's taken over me. I don't know what's going on between me and Pat, my first love of quarterback. I don't know when him and I broke up. I don't dislike him. I mean, we definitely are still on good terms, but I do think him and I have kind of broken up a little bit. I think the Burrow Bengals loss really hurt me, and I think that kind of soured Mahomes and I's relationship. So I might be on a pseudo breakup with Mahomes. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me. I still believe he's the best player in the league, but like I think Mahomes and I might just be friends. I don't know what's going on with our relationship. I don't know. I mean, I give a lot of love to Lamar Jackson, so and Lamar doesn't even really back it up that much. Maybe Lamar's not good for me. No, I love Lamar. Herbert backs me up. I will give him credit. It's just stupid Brandon Staley holding him back. I love Herbert. I really hope Lamar gets dealt. I don't want to see him in a Ravens uniform anymore. Okay, yeah, so that's my pick. Eagles win the Super Bowl over the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a really exciting game up to the very end. And Hurts is going to be Super Bowl MVP. I think if they win, it's off play from him. So that would be the Super Bowl MVP for me. I think there's a decent shot for A.J. Brown, but I think Hurts is going to have a real big game tonight. And that'll be exciting. All right, let's wrap it up with some movies. Movies. Everybody knows I'm a big movie guy. Already this year, I've watched, what? That's 6 in January. So let me just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 movies in 2 months. So it's a pretty good stat line. So I watched Boogie Nights, and I really liked it up until the point it gets like the music comes in, the boom, 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 and it gets like really dark and serious. And I was like, I don't like this like at all. Like it went from being a movie that I was like, this is going to be in the Hall of Fame. This is awesome. I love the music. I love the energy. John C. Reilly as Reed Roth. I think it's Reed Rothschild's his name. Is amazing. Like I love him. He's so great. This movie's funny. It's fun. And then it just gets super serious and dark. And I'm like, oh, I thought we were having fun. I thought this was the fun porn movie. Well, now it's not the fun porn movie anymore. So it's really disappointing. So Boogie Nights really worked for me. And then it got really dark, and I was like, oh, shoot. The big thing with that Boogie Nights is like I've heard people compare it to Pulp Fiction. I've heard people compare Paul Thomas Anderson to Tarantino, especially because like they're friends. And like his way he can balance like the comedy with the seriousness and stuff. I don't think his style of balancing comedy and seriousness is not the way I prefer. I think I vastly prefer Tarantino's style because Tarantino's never trying to pull you back and make you go. I'm going to use the scene in Pulp Fiction as an example. When they're driving in the car with Marvin and he turns around and accidentally shoots Marvin in the face, there's never a part of Tarantino that's trying to make you feel like, oh shoot, this guy just died. There's never that part of him trying to insert realism and make you feel guilty for watching a guy die. He's never trying to put that in. He is going through his Tarantino lens of reality, and he's like, no, it's funny what just happened. And you know it's funny because the way I presented it to you, it's supposed to be funny, and it is funny. PTA does it where it's like, this is funny. This is being presented as it's funny, and then he just switches it, and now you're supposed to see it through a realism lens and feel bad. And it just doesn't work for me. I was like, this doesn't work for me. And that's how Boogie Nights is. It's like things start as funny and they twist into being real and dark and upsetting. And that's just, didn't work for me. I didn't like that. Wolf of Wall Street, I think, has a lot of similar elements of that. But I think Scorsese does a much better job with how he shifts it. I'm not exactly sure what he does. I think it's maybe in the presentation where it's fun and crazy, but you can see the underlying evil. And then that just starts to take over slowly. Whereas the way PTA does it is it's just like a sudden shift. And you don't really see the underlying factors until it happens. So I think I'm speaking very broadly, but that's because I don't really know exactly. I mean, I know what I'm saying, but I don't want to give a 50 million examples. So that's why Boogie Nights kind of disappointed me because I was like, dang, this had a chance to be a Hall of Fame movie, and then it just completely fell apart, and I really don't have a desire to watch. If I watched it again, I honestly think I'd skip that 40 minutes. It was really upsetting. There was a part of me that wanted to turn it off. I was watching it at like 3 a.m. I was like, do I want to finish this? Do I really want to finish this? Like when Dirk Diggler's getting the crap beat out of him in the parking lot, and it's like, I don't even know if I want to finish this. And then I did, saw it out to the end. I was like, oh, okay, well, that was that. So because of that, I watched that. I'm kind of become very interested in Paul Thomas Anderson's films because, a lot of people consider him one of the best filmmakers ever. And, he's only got 9 movies, much like my boy Tarantino. And what I do find really interesting about Paul Thomas Anderson is if you look up, best Paul Thomas Anderson movies. Okay, let's use this example first. You look up best Tarantino movies right now. Look up a ranking. I guarantee your top 3 are Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction are the 1 and the 2. And then your 3 is probably Inglourious Bastards. Almost universally ranked as his top 3. And then bottom, I'm willing to bet it's either Death Proof or Hateful Eight as last. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood will either be last, like in the last 3 or the first, or like top 4. It's almost always, it's never in the middle. And then your middle ones are going to be like Jackie Brown, Kill Bill, and Django. There's a chance Django's higher, but most people put Django around the middle. And I think that's the thing with Tarantino is it's like, if you're a Tarantino guy, Pulp Fiction's one of his best. Pulp Fiction. Like, there's hardly anybody that's not going to put Pulp Fiction in their top Tarantino movies. Like, I'm a huge Tarantino guy. There's no way I can't put it in the top. But, you guys know this because you know the movies I've watched. Everybody who listens to podcasts know the movies I watch. I've only ever seen 3 Tarantino movies, Inglourious Bastards, Django, and Pulp Fiction. I own them all. They're sitting literally right next to me. I have a stack of DVDs that I got for Christmas that is all his movies. And I haven't watched them all yet because when I watch a Tarantino movie, it's like a spiritual experience. Like, I got to be watching it with the right people, and I don't want to have to stop it and come back to it later. Like, I got to watch it in one sitting, and then I got to be able to talk about it after. Like, his movies mean a lot to me because it's my favorite. And so I haven't watched yet Reservoir Dogs, and I haven't watched Jackie Brown yet. I haven't ran through all my Tarantinos because I'm going to at some point, probably this spring or the start of the summer, I am going to watch them all and then do an episode of the podcast where I rank them. And that'll be really exciting for the best movies of 2023 because other than Django and Pulp Fiction, 7 of his movies are eligible. So, out of the 9, 7 of his movies are going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. So we'll see how many he gets in. Because maybe Inglourious Bastards makes it in now. Maybe I feel differently. Maybe it works for me more now a second time. Who knows? But regardless, if you look at ranking of Nolan movies, Dark Knight is almost always going to be 1. And if it's not, then it's Inception. Maybe Dunkirk's up there for 1, but the top 3, that's always top 3. There's hardly ever a scenario where those aren't the top 3 best Nolan movies. No one's going to be like, oh, Interstellar's 1. Unless you're really into Interstellar. I've said before, I'm a big Nolan guy. Right now, I'm also working through watching all of his films. But Nolan is also kind of a spiritual experience for me. Like, I got to be able to focus on the Nolan movie. My mother's a big Nolan guy. She likes to watch the Nolan movies with me. Tarantino, it's more my friends. My friends enjoy Tarantino movies. I think it's because, he kind of hits every bar you want to hit as, an entertaining movie with your friends. The violence keeps it exciting. His style has a lot of fun dialogue that we can quote, and his style of comedy really works for me. Like, Tarantino he hits all the notes for me. Paul Thomas Anderson, if you look up his rankings, his movies, you might see Phantom Thread 1, you might see Phantom Thread second to last. You might see Inherent Vice, middle, you might see Inherent Vice last. Hard Eight's sometimes considered his weakest, sometimes it's considered one of his best. Magnolia is almost usually in the top 1 or 2, but sometimes it's in the middle. And then, Punch Drunk Love is sometimes first, sometimes it's last. His movies, they're each so different that even his own fans, if you go to a Reddit thing that's hey, what are your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movies? I'm a big fan, here's my ranking. Hardly any of them will have the same rankings. Tarantino, it's usually very similar. With Paul Thomas Anderson, it's sometimes Boogie Nights is 1, sometimes it's 7. So that's really interesting to me. The way his movies are, really the only one that's consistently ranked in the top is There Will Be Blood, which is usually considered to be his masterpiece. But even some people are no, I vastly prefer The Master, which is really interesting. So I think that's what's interesting to him about me, interesting to me about him is how apparently the way he makes his movies, they're very personal, and different people can see it different ways and have a legitimate argument for why it's better. I feel it's pretty hard to argue that Pulp Fiction isn't one of Tarantino's best. It'd be very hard to argue that. But, I feel based off what I've heard about PTA films, there is a real argument for each movie, why it's one of his best. And I think that's interesting. There's not a huge difference between his best movie and his worst movie. And that's really interesting. I don't know if there's a massive difference between Tarantino's, worst and best. I'll have to figure out what I think is his worst movie when I watch them all. But I've already watched 3 out of Paul Thomas Anderson's 9 movies. I watched Boogie Nights first, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'll like Heart 8, right? You know, John C. Reilly, love John C. Reilly. Let's see it. Watched Heart 8. I was like, it's fine, nothing special for me. Then I watched Licorice Pizza, his newest movie. So I've watched his 2 oldest movies, his newest movie. Watched Licorice Pizza. It was just kind of, it was entertaining. Like, you know, I was like, okay, this is entertaining. I thought it was fun. I don't really have a desire to watch it anytime soon. It wasn't anything special to me. So my girlfriend was like, so you're essentially watching all this guy's movies because you want to find the one that works for you. And I'm like, yes, because I'm like, he had something in Boogie Nights that I really loved. And then it, you know, got ruined because I don't know if it's ruined. I think Boogie Nights is a really good movie, and I see why people love it. It's just not for me. And there was a point in it where I'm like, this is really for me. And then that went away. And I was like, well, he has the potential to make a movie that really works for me. And I'm like, so I'm really curious if I can find a movie of his that really works for me. Like, maybe I'm going to watch Punch Drunk Love, and I'm just going to freaking love it. Or maybe I won't. I mean, I'll be like, yeah, okay. So I think there's a very good chance I watch all of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies before I watch all of Nolan's and all of Tarantino's, because to them, their movies mean so much to me because they're my favorites. And Spielberg's my 3rd favorite. But gosh, it's such a task to watch all his movies. I mean, so many. He makes so many. Whereas Nolan and Tarantino, it's a lot easier to say I want to watch all theirs. Within the, like, you know, within my life, I probably will watch every Spielberg movie at least once. But gosh, I mean, if I was just like, in a month, I can watch all of Tarantino's movies if I really want to. It's only 9. I mean, I essentially could watch one every 3 days and fit it within most months other than February. It's 27. So, you know, same thing with Nolan. Nolan doesn't have that many movies. It's pretty easy to just, boom, knock them all out. PTA's only got 9 movies, and they're all standalone. So, you know, well, Tarantino has 10 movies. I guess I shouldn't say that. Kill Bill's 2 parts. So, I just always think about it as 9 because he always lists them as 9. So yeah, here, the Paul Thomas Anderson, I think there's a very good chance I watch all his movies before I watch all of Tarantino's or all of Nolan's, because their movies really work for me. Kind of like the Coen brothers. I think I'm probably going to hit a point where I watch all the Coen brothers movies because I really like their style. I mean, I watched Hail Caesar, which isn't even considered one of their best movies, and I really like the style, and I think based off everything I've heard about Fargo, The Big Lebowski, and there's some of their stronger films, I feel like I'd really like them. I'm going to watch No Country for Old Men sometime soon. So I think their style really works for me. Whereas the PTA one, I'm trying to figure out, do I really like him? Like, I definitely see why people like him. I can understand why someone would say he's their favorite. He makes interesting movies, but I haven't found his movie yet that works for me. And I'm really hoping I do find that. So I might watch all his movies and do a ranking of him before I even do a ranking of my favorite directors, which is kind of funny. You'd think I'd do my favorite, Tarantino first, but there's a decent chance it's going to be Paul Thomas Anderson first, because I'm kind of on a quest to see if he's made a movie I'm really going to love. I do love Philip Seymour Hoffman. I think he's freaking great. Every movie he's in, he's still show. I mean, he's in Hard 8 for like 5 minutes. He's the best part of the movie. So, he's great in Boogie Nights, too. I think John C. Reilly's my favorite from Boogie Nights, though. So, yeah, that's the update on me and movie watching. I think probably next, I'm going to watch Phantom Thread, the Daniel Day-Lewis one. I know some people say that's amazing. Or I'll watch Magnolia next. Magnolia is a big old task, though. It's like 3 hours, big movie. Phantom Thread's like 2 hours, so a little easier for me to fit in. And plus, I gotta watch the Looney Tunes show. That show bangs. Like, the Looney Tunes show, it's like a Seinfeld sitcom style, like, Looney Tunes show. Essentially, like, Daffy Duck is like a George Costanza-esque character, and Bugs Bunny is like a Jerry Seinfeld, and they play off each other so well. And if you haven't watched the Looney Tunes show, I'm serious. It's a lot more than just a cartoon for kids. Because there's a big difference between, like, a cartoon for kids and a kid-friendly cartoon. It's kid-friendly, like, a kid could watch it and enjoy it, but it's not, like, making childish jokes. It's legit really clever. And I watched it when I was younger, and I went back and been watching it again on HBO Max, and it's exceptional. I love the Looney Tunes show. So, I don't know whether or not sitcoms are eligible for Best Show of the Year. I might have to put in a separate award when I do that's what the Emmys do. That might be what I have to do when I do my Best Shows of 2023. I might have, like White Lotus and Outer Banks and all those shows as like the best show to watch. It wasn't a comedy, and then it's like Looney Tunes show, Whose Line, those shows I like. I think Seinfeld and Fresh Prince have to be disqualified though, because they would have been in it last year. So, oh yes, I need to say this before I end the podcast. I messed up majorly. I forgot that I watched Invincible last year. I thought I watched that in 2021, and I watched that in 2022. And And I'm very disappointed because that easily was my favorite TV show of 2022. It was over Stranger Things Season 4. Invincible Season 1 is so freaking good. I might rewatch it, like as I'm talking about it right now. I probably need to finish White Lotus Season 1 before I do that, but I love Invincible. Invincible's amazing. It works for me on every level. I think it's great. And I am not a guy who usually watches. I mean, it's not anime technically, but I don't usually watch like I don't watch anime. I mean, I watch Avatar: The Last Airbender and I watch Invincible, but those are American animated series. I don't watch anime, and that's about the closest thing I do watch to anime, and I freaking love Invincible. Invincible's amazing. I might actually buy some of the comic books because it's so good. And that was easily my favorite show of 2022, easily. So it is definitive, though. I mean, I already made the episode on the Sort of Sporties. The winner of the award is technically Stranger Things Season 4. I can't go back and change it. It's just not the way I do my rules. It is the official 2022 Sort of Sporties. Best TV show of the year is from 2022 is Stranger Things Season 4. But I just want to say, quick disclaimer, I messed up. It really should have been Invincible because I love Invincible. So, and Stranger Things still would have gotten the award for being the 2022 best show. It just would have been the best show I watched would have been Invincible. But it's too late now. Just wanted to toss that out there. All right, well, I'll let you guys know when I finish my run of PTA. Quick thing, I saw a trailer the other day for the new Ben Affleck directed and written, and of course he's starring in it movie, Air, Courting of a Legend, about Phil Knight and Nike signing Michael Jordan. That looks like it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for that. You know, when you hit the right notes on a movie like that, like Moneyball and Ford vs. Ferrari, I love it. And so I think that movie can be a movie. I think there's a real contender there for the best movie of 2023. Also, apparently Killers of the Flower Moon is going to release in May now, which would be awesome because if Killers of the Flower Moon, I need to see that. I'm so excited for Killers of the Flower Moon. Gosh, I can't wait. I'll probably go see Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania next week, or will it be this weekend? Probably this weekend. So I might be watching XFL. I'll probably record a podcast relatively soon. I'll probably do a Super Bowl reactions pod, and then probably not long after, do some All-Star talk. I never made my All-Star team. I forgot. I didn't think about it. I think I tweeted one out, but I didn't make one on the pod. I just didn't think about it because, I just didn't think about recording anything when it looked like the Super Bowl was going to be exactly what I predicted. So I felt like it was redundant to do anything. So that's why we had so much to talk about today. Like I said, like you and I engaged in a conversation. You had so much to listen to me talk about, and I appreciate that. And Genevieve, if you listen to this and you were offended by the fact I didn't want Taylor Swift as a halftime show, I apologize. But I love Rihanna. So, there it is. All right, well, I think that's it. I'll let you guys know if I find that Paul Thomas Anderson movie that really works for me. I mean, I know that I've done the beginning and end of his career. So apparently if his middle really works for me, well, Magnolia is usually put in the middle. I mean, in the beginning, sorry. So Magnolia, apparently his masterpiece, some people say. Other people say it's There Will Be Blood. There's really wild people who say it's The Master. Maybe I'll really like The Master. Who knows? Maybe I'll really like Inherent Vice, the one everybody says is one of his weaker ones. Who knows? I'm going to find out, though. I think I'm just going to watch all his movies at this point. Because with him, it's less, I don't have to have an extreme level of focus of his movies. I just put it on, and then if I, have to go do something, I just stop it and finish it later. And I know you might be listening to me like, oh, well, maybe that's why it hasn't worked for you yet. No, I don't think so. I mean, I think if I really like it, I'd really like it regardless. So we'll see. Maybe I'm going to find one of his that really works for me, but I don't think he's going to be, I think I have a lot of respect for the guy, but I don't think he's going to go in my Tarantino level of love. I think it's really hard for anybody to hit that. I'd be surprised if I find a filmmaker that works for me as much as Tarantino. Am I going to like him better than Scorsese? I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on with me and PTA. But I do like Scorsese. Scorsese didn't really work for me until I watched Wolf of Wall Street. Then I was like, oh, shoot, this is what you're about. Okay, I got you now, big dog. So then, I liked Departed, but I was like, I watched Wolf of Wall Street. I'm like, okay, this is what you're about. This slaps. I'm in for it. All right. I think I've rambled on enough about movies. Usually I get to the end of the podcast, I'm like, I'll talk about movies for like 5 minutes, and then it goes on for 20. So, Eagles over Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP. Really excited for tonight. Let's have a great Super Bowl. Super Bowl 57, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's going to be an absolute classic. See you in the next one.